It would still be hours before the mist completely lifted from the bay. The surface of the water was calm, tear-choked, glass-colored black by the sky hovering right above it. Genoa was at half veil, a city poised in mourning. The mayhem around her was complete, infectious, like the scene of a tragic accident and an endearing reminder every time of how her countrymen only seemed more hysterical than what was usually the case. Families by far were the rowdiest, especially the provincials, in that perpetual state of panic about having to make sense of themselves in the face of changing times. Lydia stepped back to look at the string of trunks and crates queued like a trail of domino stones on the deck, and honed in on the two valises halfway down the middle belonging to her. She tallied each piece, but not necessarily counting them. Rather, she seemed taken in by the mathematics of it, and the poetry that begged to cling to farewells in general. She was suddenly struck by the thought of how the next time each piece of luggage would touch solid ground again, it would be on the western shores of the Atlantic Ocean somewhere. And for a moment her eyes lit up as the coil of human circumstance revealed itself again, the melodrama. A young couple crossed her field of vision, entwined, looking vacantly eager and as unprepared as the rest of them. But it was mostly the children that distracted her, as they darted about, all cut and groomed to look like tidy monks and hoisted into the best rags economic hardship would allow. She asked herself whether she would actually miss any of this, but neither with a need to come up with something of an answer, nor in any way to underline the fact that she was probably quite incapable of such a thing anyway. Too practical to have ever developed the kind of sentimental streak everyone else apparently had. The passenger list had counted 522 souls in total, and the majority of them crowded the larboard side of the ship now for a last glimpse, a whiff of things that would soon no longer be. Lydia, however, and only a few others stood facing away from the dock and the city altogether, scattered along the stern, sharing nothing but the view. They looked conspicuous. They always did, those few. If only for the fact no one had come to wave them off. Outcasts, either by law or intent, in the process of shedding skin. The movement of the ship as it jolted loose from the dock was faint and subtle at first, but it was unmistakable. She was physically disconnected now as well. With some efforts, she finally managed to tear herself loose from the view and turn her attention to one of the ship's officers, who had been calling out the names for the luggage to be collected and for the quarters to be confirmed and assigned. And for the 100th time that morning, her eyes dropped to the documents in her hand that summed up in pompous prose only the vague parameters of what was happening. That today was the 14th of November of the year 1902, and that a week earlier she had paid for a second-class passage on the vessel she was now standing on. The youngest of 3 ocean-faring sisters, bound from Buenos Aires.